Alright, Bizaboos, it's time to unite. Now, it's an unsaid condition, but every time you buy one of these historical grand strategy games, you have to spend one campaign restoring the glory of Byzantium or Rome. And now, I don't make these rules, but today I'm going to follow them, and doing it on the newest 1.2 patch that Paradox is testing in open beta. Now, you may want to ask me, is this new patch worth playing on right now? Short answer, no. Long answer, well, you can watch the video and see why. And despite the issues, I still take this minor European nation and through some luck, leeching off the AI, and diplomatic maneuvering, turn it into one of the great powers of the Earth. And if you end up enjoying this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to see more of my future stuff. So as we load in, we can see that Greece really doesn't have much going for it. So the only path of survival is sucking up to a great power and hoping for the best. I did notice that they finally added message settings to the game, so that's just great not having your screen cluttered with unimportant notifications. After a year of improving relations, we finally get our relationship with France to a point where we can be a protectorate. And yeah, becoming independent later on was going to be a problem, but this would do for now. The Ottomans were starting a war with Egypt, and I saw my first opportunity to get some of my rightful lands back. For some reason, the French were willing to just join for a treaty port in Libya, and they'd fight for me to get Macedonia and Thessaly for me. But the Brits decided they couldn't pass off this opportunity to humiliate the French, so they joined against me. When the war started, the British were nowhere to be found, and I just got to sit back and watch the French army roll over the Ottomans. The Ottomans were basically split up between the French army and the Egyptian army, and the British had just completely gaslighted the Turks thinking they would fight for them. When the Ottomans finally peaced out, Greece was looking a lot better. 5 years later, I saw my next chance. The Ottomans were at war with both Russia and Egypt, so I felt pretty bold. I was just gonna go in by myself and take the land I wanted. Now, you may look at this ratio of army strength and think I'm absolutely insane, but you forget I'm going against the AI, who I guess never got the message that I declared war on them because I just walked through the entire Balkans without being stopped. I even get Constantinople without firing a single shot. It was only when their country was 95% occupied by me and Egypt that the Ottoman AI was like, wait a second, maybe I should try to stop the Greeks, who outnumbered 10-1. But they realized that a bit too late, and I got some nice new states to integrate. With a third war, we should all be used to this routine now. Ottomans get involved in another war, and like the vulture I am, I swoop in on them. Somehow, despite me getting bigger, I was still too small for them to notice me declaring war on them and putting troops against me, so I just get the entire Balkans for free again. But they noticed a bit earlier this time that they should be trying to stop me and started pushing me back from Bulgaria. Luckily, since battles take forever now, I'm able to just stall the Ottoman army long enough for me to get everything I want out of the war. And with that done, I decided I'd just go for Montenegro since it was right there. The Russians tried to warn me not to go in, but I know when the AI is bluffing, so I just went in for it anyways, and I was completely correct in Russia AI just bluffing. Now that I've expanded so much in the Balkans, we have a lot of non-Greeks in the kingdom now, and well, they're not happy with us being racist against them. So the people organized against my government to switch from regular racism to racism 0, and I feel pretty compelled to accept it. You see, I needed the people behind me for my next war with the Ottomans, and I didn't even need to wait for them to be distracted with another war this time. I mean, at least this gives them a chance to actually focus on fighting me, but they can't even do a very good job at it. Now, this should have been a really cool part of the video where I form Byzantium and we can all soy face at how cool the nation looks, but Russia is stopping me from doing that with their stupid treaty port they got from the Ottomans. I mean, we can all just pretend I'm Byzantium and everything but name, alright? We also come up with a new anthem for our nation, and I don't know why Austria was specifically called out in this one. It doesn't feel like they did much to me this campaign, but okay. Maybe we should work on the Austrophobia here. I feel at this point, I've earned the right to reign over the Balkans, but when I go to unite with Serbia, the Germans feel entitled to stop me from doing what's right. But that didn't translate to any action, so the Serbs joined me. But now that I was seeing France getting involved in a major war with Germany and the UK, and the British convoy raiding was destroying my economy, I decided it was about time for me to leave France. I thought I'd just be able to sit and wait them out, but nope, the French were actually gonna fight to keep me. It started with one naval invasion that I was able to beat, but then one turned to 2, and then 3 and 4, and there was just too much to hold them off, so they landed. Fortunately, even though they landed and took my capital, it was very easy to exploit the front lines created to retake some of the lost territories, and the French surrendered and gave me my freedom. But the problem with freedom in this game is that it can be really expensive to maintain that freedom. So I just decided to join the British market so I can leech off of them to grow my economy. And since I was a major power now, I had the ability to puppet the Ottomans. The Russians joined to stop me from doing that, and I thought, this would be a great chance to get that treaty port to form Byzantium, and I just straight up didn't have the option to. The Russians can claim all they want that they have one of the largest armies in the world, but it doesn't matter if they don't even bother to show up to fight me. And when I puppet them, you can still see the cursed borders, but at least the colors on the map look good. And then I make the typical moves to grow my economy in the game with free trade and laissez-faire, but I guess I'm just not allowed to grow my economy in peace with France just randomly justifying on me. I didn't even have to do anything to get the British to join on my side. They just joined for the opportunity to beat up the French, and honestly, I get it. It's great that even though our nations are at war though, there's still going to be immigrants from France coming into me. I still wanted those war reparations from the French, so I planned a simple naval invasion of Corsica, and it just turned into a disaster because I can't overcome the rate that they reinforced their units in this battle. At least the UK is able to do a naval invasion and convince the French that they should be giving me my money. And now with the French alimony, I don't need to stick with the UK market anymore. It's time to finally stand on my own market and finally become my own great power as well. It does take a couple of years, but with building up my economy, army, and navy, I actually have the clout to call myself a great power. And just to confirm, I still can't take the treaty port from Russia, so I decide that I'm just going to remove them from the Great Power list. But before I do that, I can't help but notice that France is invading Egypt, and I can't just let them have their way with the country. Egypt should be mine. So I start the justification to puppet them. The Russians join to stop me, but when the war starts, just like in the current day, I can see that the Russian army is just not that good. They can't even mobilize the numbers to wear me down. Everything is just going so well for me right now. Winning the war, and now I'm making so much money that I can't even spend it all. I just give everyone a tax cut while at war. I mean, have you even seen that happen in history? Sadly, France does peace out before me and takes the Lower Nile. And with that done, they don't even want to fight me anymore, and the Egyptians surrender. I thought I had a great opportunity when I saw the Lower Nile break free from France, and I fully supported their independence to be under my management. The Germans were even involved as well, but apparently that wasn't enough support for them because they surrendered to the French anyways. I'm looking around at my factories and I'm noticing I'm starting to run low on workers, so I guess I should start liberalizing my country so I can attract immigrants that will work in these factories. So we start even allowing working people to vote, and even let them have the right to protest as well. But while we work on liberalizing, I need to start taking down the main antagonist of liberty, Russia. I figured by humiliating them and making them spit out Ukraine and Poland, that would absolutely ruin them. And it's not like the Russians can even do much to resist me. The only thing stopping me from winning this war are my own generals because they decide to ignore my objective of going for the war goal and go for something completely different. And I get to watch in horror as my puppet's army can't even defeat an army that they outnumber 9-1 because the enemy army reinforces faster. Instead of going for Poland, the army just decides I meant the Baltics instead. I mean, I didn't need the war goal anyway. I tried to correct them by once again setting the war objective to Poland, but they just keep going towards the Russian capital. I mean, I'll admire the Russian AI for one thing though, looking at this front and having the bravery to ask me for a white peace. Of course, I eventually get everything I wanted, and Ukraine spawned a lot bigger than I thought they'd be. But still, I managed to get all the new nations integrated into my market. And with all those people in the market, they can now immigrate towards me and fill up my factories. But all this new labor didn't even matter because the private investment pool just broke. By 1900, the capitalists decided they made enough money, so they didn't even need to invest anymore into growing the economy. I mean, at least I can grow my economy by annexing my puppets though, and without the Ottomans here anymore, the borders look really nice in the area. Later on, I was checking in on the Russian economy, and when I clicked on Kazakhstan, I was horrified to see the whole area was just depopulated. At first I thought the Russians actually just depopulated a bunch of Central Asia, but I realized later that it was actually me installing a map mod to fix the US-Canadian border that just caused the entire population of Kazakhstan to disappear. Once I annexed Egypt, my economy was basically stagnating since I couldn't build anymore, but we're Greek so we can live with that. Anyways, it was finally time for me to kick out Russia from great power status for good so I could reclaim my rightful territory. Unfortunately, this time I was gonna have to deal with Austria as well, and for some reason, Ukraine didn't want any part in disassembling Russia, which I just find hard to believe. When the war starts off, things are kinda strange. You see, I forgot to put an army in the Caucasus front, and you think I'd be really screwed, but fortunately, since combat makes no sense, one brigade of my men, without a general to lead them, is able to hold back 13,000 Russian soldiers for 2.5 months because they just keep reinforcing. Then, once my main army arrives, I just walk right through the Russian lines. And despite only having one front against me, the Russian AI struggles to remember that they have to put troops on the front line. I also make the terrible mistake of trying to start a second front in Finland, because just trying to keep track of those front lines is impossible, because they keep shifting because of the lakes. I think my armies would do better with some direction, but the command just broke, and I couldn't use it. At least my generals eventually figure out they're supposed to take the enemy capital to win the war, and once again, Russia thinks it's acceptable at this point to just offer a white peace. Eventually the Tsar stops huffing copium and realizes they have to accept my terms, and without Belarus and Kazan, they fall out of great power status. Now, we all know what comes next now. Cleaning up the borders in Egypt while the truce runs out again, of course. First with the Nile from France, and then the Suez. I don't even know how they got that, and must have been from Egypt, and I just never noticed till this point. But anyways, I know you're paying me for this canal, America, but that lease has been revoked. And now I can finally take the treaty port and form Byzantium, and the war goal doesn't work. I spent half this campaign trying to get to this point, only for it to be completely pointless. Well, I think we can all agree I would have won this war anyways, so we just have to do this like all the best players of this video game and win through alternative means. Oh my god, wow guys, look at him, he's so good. He formed Byzantium in Vicky 3. Oh my god, he's so good. But seriously though, yeah, this beta patch is really rough. Hopefully in the next month, when this full patch is released, it is in a way better shape. The combat is the worst part. It actually took a downgrade from the last patch, because like the battles go on way longer because of the way reinforcement works. And the combat AI also seems worse, because they just like keep shifting around their armies and don't even like fight you if you engage them on multiple fronts. The strategic objectives is a really good concept, it just doesn't work as you've seen in this video. And the private economy stuff breaking looks like that was fixed at the time I'm editing this. If you really want to playtest this, knock yourself out, but for now I have little interest in playing this. I mean, I'll be back when this patch is fully out and all the mods I like playing with are updated. But anyways, hope you guys did have some fun watching this video, and if you did, like the video and subscribe for more greatness in the future.